Hey guys, I'm gonna actually upload two videos today. One will be the topic, and I'll label it that, and then this week is just my response to my own question from last week, because my vlogs are getting kind of long-winded, and I don't want to upload a 15-minute video, so I'm just splitting it up. So this is the part where I'll discuss all the beginning stuff. But so this is week 6. We're doing really good. You guys did such a good job on week 5 with the playsets discussion, and I really enjoyed your guys' ideas. You did a good job of describing the details. Some of you were really good at talking about the detailed features, and others were really good at just the concept as a whole of what's marketable. And I watched all your guys' stuff, and it was really good. And at first I had the idea that this like committee meeting thing we were doing is at the end I would pick who had the best idea. But unfortunately, you all had really good ideas, and I don't want to pick. I'm a coward. I don't want to pick. But you guys, so each one of your things, and I commented, I think, on everybody's of what I thought was really good about them or what wouldn't sell. And so instead of going down the list, I was just going to say that you guys all did a great job. I think my favorite would probably be James VaderFan 777's Cloud City idea, but I think it would be way too expensive. He was talking about making it really big, and so that's why it would never get made. But that would be kind of what my original idea was for my own pitch, was the duel scene between Vader and Luke, because they did make a Cloud City playset for Power of the Jedi, and you can make them fight up there, but there's no space. And so his idea of having the long walkway and stuff was a good idea, the hallway and stuff. So Cloud City would be great. A lot of you guys said Hoth, like the trenches and Wampa Cave and stuff. And so those were really good ideas. I mean, if they ever do any, it'll probably be something like that, or maybe a Clone Wars scene. And really the one I liked that I think would sell really well would be Kashyyyk, which is what Andre and Peter both said, that Kashyyyk, you could have like the bridges and the trees and, like a little Wookiee hut up in the trees and stuff with little turrets. Those were all really good ideas. And my idea at first was the Ewok village, and I thought, well, no one's going to buy. I'm the only person stupid enough to buy Ewoks, so that's not marketable. So I went with this idea, which is the Senate. So here's my pitch. All right, guys, here's what I came up with. What I was thinking is you just have something that's, I don't know, maybe 2 feet tall, maybe not quite that big, where it's just a piece of plastic that kind of tapers like this, and then you have just some type of backrest maybe connected there. So it's just, there's not a lot of plastic involved. It's just like a sheet of plastic with like some legs. And from the front, this is what it looks like. And then you attach Senate pods to it with these little hooks, and so you can take them out and throw them at Yoda or make them fly around. But they're just so all the pods are removable, and maybe they give you 7 or 8 or 9 pods. And they actually did make a pod. It looks kind of like this, where your figures stand inside, and it came in a thing called the Skirmish on the Senate. But you got like a Yoda and a Sidious with it. The problem is no one's going to buy a bunch of battle packs in order to get a lot of pods. So I thought if they just had a set where it was nothing but pods, and then this plastic holder for them, you could set up something that looks a little bit like what it did in the movie. And then if you have bought, and then that's for the average collector who just wants a bunch of pods to do a little scene. So you could put, Padme and Bail Organa, and then a bunch of, Aqualish and a bunch of Wookiees, and, and sort of spread them out. This is where you can put all your characters who don't do anything, just like the dignitaries and stuff, and stick them in here, just as a display. And then a really hardcore collector could buy several of these. So he buys, 4 of them, and then you put them in a semicircle, and maybe they hook in on the side, and then you could have, places for 20 or 30 different species for the Senate. And then what I was thinking is you have a separate thing they can buy, which you could sell this by itself or put it, together with this, which is the Chancellor's pod, which, how it raises up out of the ground. And what you do is you make it collapsible, so this part collapses down into this, and then the whole thing collapses down into this part. And so you can raise it up to its full height or push it back down, just for a little bit of play value. But then this pod is where Yoda and Sidious were fighting at. And that was just my idea. And if you were to put it all together, to put this in the middle and then have like 4 of these around. You could make a half circle of pods, and of course there were like 1,000,000 pods in the movie, so that's too many. But with something like this, you could stage all your action figures around and put Sidious in the middle. The only problem, I guess, with selling something like this is that either all your pods are going to be empty during the duel between Sidious and Yoda, or they're going to be full of people just standing around. So I don't think it would sell, especially maybe when Revenge of the Sith first came out, it might have sold, but that was just a little idea I had. So I don't know if you guys enjoyed this brainstorming session of trying to talk about what we would pick, and but if you did like it, let me know. Send me an email, and we'll or just make a comment here. And if you guys enjoyed it, in the future we'll do something like this. Like maybe we'll pick a vehicle and describe how we would pitch it to Hasbro, or a new character, because you know how they do those fan choice character polls. We could do something like that and describe the figure we would want, something like that, and then hold a contest, and then whoever wins gets, I'll send you an action figure or something like that. We could do that in the future. We'll work out the details of how do you pick, because I don't want to be the guy who just says, okay, I'm going to pick this guy, because his idea was better and everyone else loses. We would have to come up with a way of like voting or something. But we'll toss that idea around in January. Which brings me to my next point, is that the holidays are coming up. Things are going to be really busy, so I totally understand if you guys can't post your stuff right away. Another roundup for this past week is Yoda. Everyone was talking about Yoda, and I think we all agreed that the Empire Strikes Back version of Yoda, the puppet, was the best of all. And we talked about the prequels, and like, yeah, he was good in some parts, and he was really important to the plot and things, but in a lot of ways, he was really just kind of the background guy. He's just like, well, the Sith are taking over. Yep, the universe is going to be overrun. And, he just kind of played along in Sidious's game, so he wasn't all that important. And he wasn't as endearing of a character as he was in Empire Strikes Back. So we all kind of agreed that the Empire Strikes Back version of Yoda is absolutely the best. And I did want to mention one thing is, if you ever play the Force Unleashed 2 video game, and if you watched when all the hype was going up in the commercials and trailers, they showed Starkiller going to Dagobah and meeting Yoda. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to play a really high quality game and get trained by Yoda, or even fight Yoda. And I thought it would be really cool, and kind of learn a little bit about what Yoda was doing in between the movies. And unfortunately, that game was such a scam, because when you got to that point, it was really just a cutscene where Starkiller looks at Yoda and just walks right past him. And I was so mad. That was such a pointless thing. So I don't know, in Force Unleashed 3, maybe you'll go back, but I was so disappointed I may not buy Part 3. They did that with Boba Fett, too. It's like, oh, I'm going to fight Boba Fett, and you never did. So Force Unleashed 2 was a joke. Last thing I want to talk about is the Clone Wars. The new episodes, the slave episodes. Slaves of the Republic and Kidnapped. And oh my gosh, it's actually making me mad, because the thing is they're such hypocrites. The Jedi are talking about all these horrible slave, and yeah, the guys are beating people with whips and electrocuting people, and it's slavery at its worst. But what are the Jedi doing? They're breeding clones from birth to be soldiers, and they send millions of them to their deaths. And the Jedi don't see a problem with that. That they're just going to, they're breeding them to deliberately obey orders. So there's something in their brain that makes them obey the orders of the Jedi. And I think that is, it's biological slavery. And it's just really, really aggravating that now you're watching these episodes, you're like, oh, when will the galaxy be rid of slavery forever? Well, you've got an army of 3 million clones that you bred to obey you. What do you call that? So I'm just getting really mad at the Jedi. But actually, there is potential here, and I'm sure they'll address it in the show. I hope they do, or I'll be mad. With Anakin, he was a slave. Now he's, getting really angry with these slavers. I'm sure he's going to go all Vader on them and just, start choking people to death. It's about time he started that. But if you ever watch Revenge of the Sith, right at the beginning when they're flying, and one of the clones is under attack, and he wants to go back and save him. And then Obi-Wan says, no, let him die. He's got to do his job so we can do ours. And that really is the tone I'm getting now, where Anakin actually has like an emotional connection with the clones, and that's a good thing. He's more human than the rest of the Jedi who are just like, oh, they're just clones. You know, they're just like droids to them. They're just biological droids. And so even Obi-Wan I have less sympathy for now. But with Anakin, you know, I'm starting to see that he's getting that connection, and I guess somehow or other that turns whenever he falls to the dark side. You know, he loses that, I'm sure, and just throws his stormtroopers, you know, into the fray just like the Jedi did. But it's kind of an interesting angle. So I just didn't know what you guys thought about that. That's the end of my vlog for personal stuff, and right after this I'm going to post next week's topic. So I'm going to try to split them like this. That way if you want to avoid these videos, you can just go straight to the topic. Thanks, guys.